Hey everyone, welcome to Barter Hordes. My name is Robert and today is day 5 of March Malt Madness. And our matchup tonight is between two really good bottles of scotch. And I have a feeling that I can't really go wrong either way with this one. The first one is an Islay Scotch, but it's an unpeated Islay Scotch, which is unusual for Islay. This is the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. And it's facing up against a Highland whiskey, Clynelish 14, but it's a coastal Highland whiskey. It's in the extreme northeast corner of Scotland, and this of course is on the southwest of Scotland, the Isle of Islay, and so they're about as far away from each other geographically as you can be in Scotland. This one almost takes on the characteristic of an island Scotch because of that coastal influence. So let's look at the important statistics and see what we have. Bunnahabhain 12 is the beginning of their core range. They started with this whiskey in 1979, and so it's 40 years now. It's bottled at 46.3% ABV. There's no color. It's not chill filtered. It says it right on the bottle, which we love to see. It's double matured. Part of it's in ex-bourbon barrels, part of it's in ex-sherry casks. And so you can see, since there's no color added, you can see that the darker color of the Bunnahabhain is from that sherry influence. The Clynelish 14, you don't see a lot of this around, and it's not because they don't make a lot of it. It's a pretty big distillery, but a lot of Clynelish goes into blends. This is a Diageo distillery, and Diageo also owns Johnnie Walker, so a lot of Clynelish goes into Johnnie Walker Gold. It's also used in a number of the Compass Box blended whiskeys as well. And so it's used in a lot of blends, and so you see fewer bottles of it than you might otherwise. It is bottled at 46%. We have no real word on whether it's chill filtered or not, and we don't even know exactly how it's matured, but given how light it is, my guess is, and from the times I've tasted it before, I don't get that super dark, rich fruit flavor you get with a sherry influenced scotch. So I'm guessing it's primarily a bourbon, an ex-bourbon maturation, but we don't know for sure. There is a medium or light peat in the Clynelish too. Like I said, there's no peat on the Bunnahabhain. Neither of these is available in North Carolina, which means they're probably both pretty good. This is $55 in Chicago, and this is $80 in Chicago. I am a big fan of a lot of Diageo brands, but I have to say their prices are getting a little bit exorbitant lately. Just my little personal belief. Some of my favorite whiskeys are getting to the point where I think twice before buying them again. Okay, so that's what we have. We have a coastal Highland matched up against an unpeated Islay. Very different matchup, but both of these bottles have great reputations. Bunnahabhain 12 is one of those bottles that almost everybody recommends. I first tasted it because somebody told me it was a good introduction to Islay whiskeys. I, not knowing anything, was expecting a blast of peat in the face, and then when I found out it's not peated at all, I felt like an idiot because I completely expected something different. And I haven't gone back to this one in a while, so this is a relatively new purchase for me to go back to it. And the Clynelish is one that I found on my trip in September, where I found a bunch of bottles in Chicago that I could not get here. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. So let's see what aromas we get. I'm guessing, based on the sherry influence in this one and the bourbon influence, we're going to get some sweetness. Some of it's going to be from fruit. Some of it's going to be maybe vanilla and caramel from the oak influence of the bourbon casks. Oh yeah. This is fruit all over the place. It's almost like sticking your nose into one of those bags of dried fruit from the grocery store. It's just so many different levels of fruit flavor here. Very nice. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am not a huge fan of heavily sherried whiskeys, but I'm growing to appreciate them more when they're done really well. And Bunnahabhain is one of those that's got a reputation for doing it really well. They also, incidentally, and I've never tried it, have a cask strength version of this bottle. And whiskey lovers swear by the cask strength Bunnahabhain 12. And they say, especially if you like sherry, apparently the cask strength has an even stronger sherry influence. But that's nice. It's very balanced, very pleasant, a lot of fruits. Okay, let's try the Clynelish. It's a little bit lighter. I'm not, at least not yet, I'm not getting any of the peat smoke. Maybe I'll get it on the taste. But it does have this kind of I hesitate to say salt on the aromas, but it smells like you're on a beach somewhere, which makes sense because it's on the coast. And you'd be amazed how much a coastal influence on a cask of whiskey sitting for 14 years can have. It's really nice, but it's a much more subdued set of aromas than the Bunnahabhain. This one's been described as having kind of a waxy character, and I'm not sure exactly what they're getting. Some people have said that it smells to them like snuffed out candle wax. And I don't get that necessarily, but maybe that's what I'm interpreting as being on the beach. I'm not really sure. Both of these are nice. I have a feeling this is going to be a win-win. And that makes it hard because one of them has to be eliminated. I do not remember it having that big, bold taste. Oh my gosh. Is this the cask strength? No, it is not. 46.3%. That is just a huge blast of fruits. Almost even some nutty flavors in with the fruits. And the vanilla and the caramel. It's very sweet, but it's very good. That surprises me. That took me a little off guard. That's very different from what I remember from a year ago when I first tried it. Not this bottle, this is a brand new bottle. Okay, let's change gears completely and go to the Highlands. I can see why some people describe this as having kind of a floral, both aroma and taste. I'm getting a little bit of the sea salt character on the sides of my tongue. That seems to be where, maybe everybody does, but that seems to be where I pick up spices, is on the sides of my tongue. But then the fruits I'm getting in the middle of my tongue. That's good. Okay, let's go back to the Bunnahabhain one more time. I halfway expected to be a contrarian tonight and not pick the scotch that everybody swears is wonderful and loves. It's always so highly regarded. I thought, it's not really my flavor profile. I'm not a big sherry lover, but my goodness, that is done so well. I'm gonna have to advance the Bunnahabhain and eliminate the Clynelish, which really surprises me. I was fully expecting this one to go on tonight because of my experience with it has been good. But I completely misremembered how good this is. This is really, it is very, very sweet. And I think if I had more than, a couple of ounces of this in a night, I'd want to switch to something else because it's too much sweetness. But for an occasional pour, this is really, really, really good. So Bunnahabhain moves on. Bunnahabhain does now have a peated whiskey in their core collection, and I do have a bottle which I have not yet had a chance to open, and it's got a Gaelic name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce tonight. I might get brave enough to try to pronounce it later, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how the sherry influence mixes with the peat smoke. Okay, so that's day 5. We've eliminated 5 now. Day 6 tomorrow is between a lowland Scotch, Auchentoshan Three Wood, which is another one I think has a pretty high sherry influence, versus an Islay peated Scotch, Caol Ila 12. So that's going to be an interesting matchup, a lowland against an Islay whiskey tomorrow. If you've had either or both of these, let me know your thoughts. How do you think this is going? These videos aren't getting a lot of traffic, but I kind of expected that. People who have subscribed to my channel in the past know me as a booktuber, and so to suddenly see a whole series of whiskey videos is probably a little bit strange to them, and I suspect that I'm losing some subscribers right and left because of that. But I'm having fun. This is really interesting experiment for me, and I hope people will, you know, not cut me too bad for changing slightly directions on my channel. This is not a business for me, strictly for fun. I've even turned off the monetization on my channel months ago, so I'm not even making pennies on these videos. They're just strictly for fun, and so far I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you'll stay with me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye everybody.